What is up, you guys? My name is Aubrey and this is my channel, and today I want to talk about the newest $900 billion stimulus package that was just passed yesterday by lawmakers. But more specifically, in this video, I want to address the EIDL, or the EIDL program. I want to talk about whether or not this program is coming back, what the details of it are, and what this means for you. So let's get started. So after literally months of negotiating, stonewalling, and dragging their feet, lawmakers and government finally came to an agreement in regards to a $900 billion stimulus package, and this was passed yesterday by both the House and the Senate. Now, in this bill, there isn't a whole lot of new ideas and new concepts. Instead, what it really does is extend a lot of the programs that many Americans have already been taking advantage of. Things like unemployment, the PPP program, eviction bans, mortgage forbearance, and so much more. So in this video, and over the next week or so, I'm going to be breaking down this bill section by section in regards to the topics that most interest you in this audience. But before we break down the EIDL specifically, I have two things I want to note. Number one is, for full disclosure, I have not read the entire bill. It's 5,593 pages and it was just released yesterday, so I am not that fast of a reader. But my plan is to be reading it section by section in relation to the videos that I'm creating, paired with the research that I'll do to make sure that I have full understanding of the concepts in the bill, and then I plan on reading the bill in its entirety over the next couple of weeks. The second thing that I would like to note is that whenever I make these stimulus package videos, I oftentimes oversimplify the concepts that I'm talking about, and this is done intentionally. My goal with this YouTube channel is to make this content as easy to understand as possible, and sometimes that comes at the cost of oversimplifying the things I'm talking about. So if you guys are watching this video and you feel as though I'm oversimplifying things, I may be leaving out some of the finer details, that is oftentimes done intentionally for the sake of making my videos easy to understand. But if you want more context to any of the stuff that I'm talking about, I will include links to all of my sources, and I will include links to the actual bills themselves in the description down below. So with that, let's dig into the EIDL program. Now, let me start off by giving a brief summary of what the EIDL, or the EIDL program, is. So the EIDL, or the EIDL program, stands for Economic Injury Disaster Loan, and this is a program that has existed within the SBA for a very long time, but it's oftentimes used in the context of natural disasters, not in the context of the entire United States for a national pandemic, or a worldwide pandemic, I should say. This is a program that had two facets of it outlined in the CARES Act, which was the bill passed in the spring. There was a loan portion of the EIDL program. This was a process where you could apply for a loan, you could get approved for a certain amount, and then you would have to pay that loan back, but at an insanely low interest rate. This meant that you could borrow quite a lot of money, and it was a very low cost, cost-efficient way of doing it. This helped a lot of businesses stay afloat because they were able to borrow, in some cases, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, and pay it back in very small monthly payments. On the flip side, there was another aspect of this program, and this was the cash advance program. And this was the part of the program that quite honestly caused a lot of issues. Now, in the CARES Act, they had outlined that the EIDL program would offer $10,000 flat rate cash advances to any business that needed money. Now, this was a very broad and very vague explanation of who qualified for this $10,000 cash advance. And as a result, and as you may expect, people took advantage of it. And because of this, relatively quickly on in the process, the SBA changed the rules from $10,000 flat rate cash advance to eligible businesses and changed it instead to $1,000 per employee up to $10,000. But even with this change made by the SBA, the EIDL cash advance program was still very vague, very broad, and there was not enough regulation in who was getting the money and how much they were receiving. As a result, there was a ton of fraud outlined in the EIDL cash advance program. Now, with the cash advance program as outlined in the CARES Act, the program only ran until it ran out of money, or it ran out of funds. So as a result, the cash advance program ended in July, but the loan portion of the program is still operating today. And you can go in and you can apply for an EIDL loan today in December of 2020. Now, with this newest bill that was passed by lawmakers yesterday, there is more funding being allocated to the EIDL program. In fact, there will be $20 billion going to the EIDL cash advance and the EIDL loan program. Now, of this $20 billion that is being allocated to the EIDL program, 20 million of it is being allocated to prevent fraud, waste, and abuse of the EIDL program. So it is going to go to oversight to ensure the applicants that are applying for the cash advance are not doing it fraudulently and are not abusing the system. Additionally, one of the biggest changes in this bill is the timeline of the EIDL program. As I mentioned earlier, in the CARES Act, it stated that the day that you apply for the EIDL cash advance, you can expect to receive the funds within 3 business days. This was a very ambitious timeline, and to be honest, to this day, I don't know why they made it so ambitious. This has changed in the newest bill, and they've redacted the 3 days and they've changed it to 21 days, meaning that if you qualify for the EIDL cash advance, you can expect to receive the funds within 21 days of your original application date. The other significant aspect that has been changed with this newest bill is the eligibility requirements for the EIDL cash advance. Now, the overall eligibility requirements have not changed, meaning you can still apply if you're an independent contractor, if you're a gig worker, if you have a business of less than 500 employees. All of those aspects are the same. But the thing is that with the CARES Act, there was a lot of confusion of whether or not the SBA had the power of denying an EIDL applicant. And this was something that caused a lot of issues for quite a long time. People were getting denied on the basis of credit, on the basis of not having verification for their business, on the basis of not being established long enough. And there was a lot of people that felt like this was wrong of the SBA to do, that they didn't have the right to deny applicants. Well, in this newest bill, the bill essentially says that the denial or acceptance of a EIDL applicant is up to the discretion of the SBA. And there are a number of key factors that are going to be taken into account when assessing the eligibility of an applicant. There are going to be things like your credit score, your ability to pay back the loan. Are you a legitimate and eligible business, and can you prove this? These are just a handful of the factors that will be taken into account when assessing an EIDL applicant. And it is up to the SBA to either deny or accept the applicant into the EIDL cash advance program. If you are accepted, like I said, you'll get the funds within 21 days. If you are denied, you will get a letter in the mail stating why you're denied and a further explanation of your denial from the SBA. But now here is where things get really interesting, especially in relation to that elusive $10,000 cash advance that I mentioned earlier. This is the $10,000 cash advance that was outlined in the CARES Act, but then was taken away by the SBA and switched out for a $1,000 per employee up to $10,000 cash advance. So I'm going to read this directly from this newest bill because I think that there is a little bit of interpretation to be made here, and I want to read what it says and then I will give my interpretation of it. So this is page 2186. It's section 331 titled Targeted EIDL Advance for Small Business, and it is section B, Entitlement to Full Amount. So I'm going to read it from the beginning. Subject to paragraph 2, a covered entity, after submitting a request to the administrator that the administrator verifies under subsection C, shall receive a total of $10,000 under section 1110C of the CARES Act, without regard to whether A, the applicable loan for which the covered entity applies or applied under section 7B2 of the Small Business Act is or was approved. B, the covered entity accepts or accepted the offer of the administrator with respect to an approved loan described in subparagraph A. Or C, the covered entity has previously received a loan under section 7A36 of the Small Business Act. And then the second part of the same section is effect of previously received amounts. In general, with respect to a covered entity that received an emergency grant under section 110E of the CARES Act before the date of enactment of this act, the amount of the payment that the covered entity shall receive under this subsection, after satisfaction of the procedures required under subparagraph B, shall be the difference between $10,000 and the amount of the previously received grant. And then lastly is procedures. If the administrator receives a request under paragraph 1 from a covered entity described in subparagraph A of this paragraph, the administrator shall, not later than 21 days after the date on which this administrator receives the request, either A, perform the verification required, 2, if the administrator under subsection C verifies that the entity is covered, provide the covered entity a payment in the amount described in subparagraph A. So this is what it says. And again, this is page 2186 and 2187 of this bill. Now, my interpretation of this, and I mean, if we base it off of history of what happened with the CARES Act, this can always change, and this certainly isn't written in stone. But my interpretation of this is that anybody who was eligible for the first EIDL grant should be getting the full $10,000 this second time. That's my interpretation. If you guys have a different interpretation, I would love to hear it down in the comment section below, so make sure to leave a comment. But my understanding is that there will be more verification in determining whether or not somebody is verified. So it won't be as easy to get the cash advance as it was this last time. But for those of you who actually applied for the EIDL and had a legitimate case for getting the EIDL cash advance, you could be getting that full $10,000. So for example, if you got $1,000 with the CARES Act, because it's just you're a sole proprietor and you only qualified for $1,000, under this newest bill, you could get the additional $9,000, making it a full $10,000 in the EIDL cash advance. Now that's my interpretation of it, which I think is excellent news. I would love to hear what you guys think, so make sure to leave a comment down below. Now, in regards to this cash advance, this $10,000 cash advance per this bill, it looks as though this money will be available until it runs out, similar to how it was with the CARES Act. So if you're somebody who is eligible for a cash advance and you want that full $10,000, you should definitely stay tuned and, subscribe to this channel and make sure that you are aware of when the applications open back up, because I assume that applications will open back up and the money will probably run out fairly quickly, I would assume. Now, it depends on what people end up doing. It depends on what ends up happening with the SBA and what they say, but I would guess that the money is going to run out very quickly. Now, the cash advance portion of this program is kind of first come, first serve, whereas the loan program will last throughout the entire year of 2021 as long as funds stay available. And if history repeats itself with the CARES Act, the funds will last significantly longer with the loan program than they do with the cash advance portion of the program. So the loan portion of the program has been extended until December 31st, 2021, whereas the cash advance portion of the program will be until the funds run out. Now, per this bill, the SBA has 15 days to release guidelines and instructions for how you can go about applying for the cash advance. Because they are the ones kind of heeding this effort from here on out, they will have to be the ones to, publish the application on their website to let people know that the application process is open, to kind of set expectations on how the application process will work. So that will be very similar to the last time. The SBA was the one who took control of this program, and they will be doing so again this time around as well. So once again, in regard to the cash advance, you will have to qualify for it. So not everybody will get it. You will have to meet a certain criteria and a certain set of expectations in order to qualify for the full $10,000. But if you have a legitimate business, if your business has been impacted by COVID-19, if you are a legitimate sole prop, a legitimate gig worker, if you are a legitimate business owner and you have the documentation to prove that, you should qualify for the full $10,000. And I think that that is absolutely huge news. I think that really could not be much better in regard to the EIDL program. So in summary, the EIDL program is coming back. You may have a chance to get the full $10,000 cash advance, though there will be stricter guidelines and eligibility requirements that you will have to meet in order to get that EIDL free cash advance. The EIDL program is being extended until December 31st, 2021. The loan program will run until this date. The cash advance portion of the program will run until funds have run out. As long as you have a eligible and legit business that you can prove has been affected by COVID-19, you should still be eligible for the EIDL cash advance, even if you received it the first time around, though the amount that you received the first time will be deducted from the full $10,000, and that is the amount that you could get this time around. Additionally, there will be more oversight on the EIDL program as a whole in order to prevent fraud. And lastly, the SBA will be releasing more verbiage in regards to how to apply for the EIDL application, both the loan and the cash advance portion, within the next 15 days. So if you guys are interested in learning more about this, if you're interested in staying up to date when this program drops and when the application opens, make sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell. But with that being said, you guys, this is just a general outline of this bill in regards to the EIDL program. Like I said at the beginning of the video, there is details that I've left off for the sake of clarity. If you guys are interested in reading the exact verbiage for this bill, I included it throughout the video, but I will also include a link to the bill as well in the description below, so make sure to check that out if you're interested. I also will be doing a video all week long regarding this bill. I'll do a video tomorrow about PPP. Later on this week, I'll do a frequently asked questions video, and I'll also be addressing some of the other programs outlined in the bill as well. So if you're interested in checking it out, make sure to subscribe. And if you guys have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, make sure to leave a comment down below. I would love to hear your thoughts on the interpretation of that section of the bill that I read off regarding the $10,000 cash advance. So leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.